In the heart of the African savanna, a man risked his life to free a wounded lion tangled in barbed wire. What began as an act of courage quickly took an astonishing turn. Moments later, the lion's unexpected response left everyone in disbelief. Across the sweeping grasslands of Kruger National Park in South Africa, the morning sun cast its golden light over the soft mist, creating a scene of serene beauty. Moving through scattered trees and vibrant green bushes, Dylan, a young conservation officer, set out on his daily patrol, driven by passion and a profound love for the natural world. Since childhood, he had dreamed of dedicating his life to protecting the wild, and now, at Kruger National Park, that dream was becoming a reality. Each time he set out, Dylan carefully inspected his off-road vehicle, making sure he had enough water, medicine, and emergency supplies to handle any situation that might arise. As he journeyed through the park, he often paused to study animal tracks, listen to birdsong, and feel the rhythm of the earth and sky, eager to uncover the hidden stories of every living creature. It was on one of those calm early mornings, in the stillness of the grassland, that Dylan suddenly spotted a small bloodstain on the dry earth, instantly stirring a sense of unease in his chest. He brought the vehicle to a stop and quietly stepped out, moving carefully along the trail of blood-soaked weeds, his mind racing with concern over what kind of animal might be injured and in need of help. After walking a short distance, he came upon the majestic figure of a male lion lying motionless, its golden fur streaked with dried blood and tangled tightly in sharp barbed wire. Dylan's heart pounded at the heartbreaking sight, but he approached with great care, medical kit in hand, doing his best to remain calm and not startle the wounded animal. The cowardly lion growled softly, looked up at him with lost eyes, then, seeming exhausted, lowered its head again, desperate and helpless before the barbed wire dug deep into its flesh. Dylan quickly examined the lion's wounds. The barbed wire had dug deep into its shoulders and back, leaving bloody gashes that needed careful attention. Kneeling down, he pulled out his pliers, took a steadying breath, and began cutting through the steel, soothing the lion as he worked. Sweat dripped from his brow, but he didn't stop. The lion's life depended on him. Minutes passed in tense silence, broken only by the snip of metal and the lion's soft groans. When the last wire fell away, Dylan swiftly applied antiseptic and bandaged the wounds. Though exhausted and trembling, the lion's eyes held a glimmer of relief and gratitude. Gently, Dylan whispered a name, Harold, meaning brave, to honor the powerful moment they had shared. Carefully stepping back, he gave Harold some space, observing whether it could stand up on its own after such serious injuries. Slowly, the lion lifted itself up, staggered a few steps, then looked deeply into Dylan's eyes as if wanting to remember the image of its savior. As the morning sun rose, Harold turned and disappeared into the tall grass, leaving behind the shredded wire and blood-stained ground. The moment struck Dylan deeply, reminding him of his mission to protect all life in the wild. Weeks passed, and life returned to its rhythm. During an afternoon patrol, Dylan spotted a familiar figure watching from afar. Harold, now recovering, hidden in the bushes with calm eyes. From that day on, the lion often followed at a respectful distance, a silent guardian who had not forgotten the man who saved him. Colleagues in the park began to stir when many reported seeing a large lion following Dylan's car on the red dirt roads. At first, everyone was worried because no one knew if it was a potential threat, but Dylan smiled and said that Harold was not a threat, but a friend. Over time, everyone noticed Harold quietly following Dylan, never aggressive, always keeping a respectful distance. Even when Dylan paused to inspect antelope tracks, Harold waited nearby, only moving again once the patrol resumed. Word of their unusual bond spread across the park, sparking curiosity and admiration. Visitors began calling Harold the wild guard of Dylan, inspired by the trust between man and lion. One evening, as the sun set, Dylan spotted Harold perched on a high rock, silently watching, almost as if to see him off. As Dylan disappeared down the dusty road, Harold turned and returned to the wild. However, an incident occurred during a harsh dry season when a herd of angry wild elephants swept through the western part of the national park, destroying many trees and infrastructure. They seemed to have lost control due to the hot weather, scarce water, and lack of food, making their behavior more aggressive and unusual than usual. When the park ordered an emergency evacuation due to an aggressive elephant herd, Dylan quickly set out to guide the tourists to safety. thunderous elephant roars drowned out the engines, filling the group with fear. While coordinating the evacuation, Dylan became separated from his team, stranded on a low mound with only reeds and broken stumps around him. The ground shook as the elephants drew closer, and with nowhere to hide, panic set in, until a powerful roar pierced the air. It was Harold. The majestic lion charged forward, roaring fearlessly to draw the elephants' attention, standing tall and baring his fangs like the true king of the wild. Despite the risk of being attacked by sharp tusks and massive bodies, the elephants turned towards Harold, roaring in defiance. But the lion did not retreat, trying to buy time for Dylan to find a way to retreat. Both frightened and respectful, he took advantage of that moment to run toward a high cliff, away from the path of the angry elephants. Harold held his ground with fearless grace, weaving between the towering elephants, dodging trunks and roaring to keep them at bay. Despite the danger, he never let them near Dylan. The clash of roars echoed through the forest, shaking the stillness of the land. At last, the elephants, weary from the chase, turned away. As the final one disappeared, Harold collapsed, gasping for breath. Dylan rushed to his side, overwhelmed with relief and gratitude, gently resting a trembling hand on the lion's mane. Though bruised and exhausted, Harold was not seriously hurt, but he had clearly risked his life. Once the danger had passed, Dylan contacted his team, gently loaded Harold into the vehicle, and headed for the veterinary station, his heart full of thanks. The whole reserve was excited by the news of the lion saving the person. Everyone was amazed at the loyalty and bravery that Harold showed in sacrificing himself to help his benefactor. The park management declared the event a historic milestone, honoring the rare bond between human and wildlife. Harold was cared for over several days, slowly regaining strength. Though still weak, he watched Dylan with steady eyes, an unspoken promise that their friendship remained. Dylan cherished him even more, knowing the lion had repaid kindness with unwavering loyalty. Their story spread through tourist sites as living proof of a bond that crossed species. Visitors came hoping to glimpse the legendary pair, capturing rare moments of connection. Once recovered, Harold returned to the wild, but he never strayed far. On every patrol, Dylan felt his presence. Harold, the silent guardian of the grasslands. Memories of fighting together in times of danger, of the barbed wire that had been shredded, now became beautiful marks between man and lion. Sitting by the campfire on windy nights, the conservation staff often mentioned the courageous journey of Dylan and Harold like a fairy tale in the middle of the jungle. At dawn, Dylan set off once more in his familiar vehicle, carrying the quiet certainty that he was never truly alone. Somewhere, Harold was watching. The misty grasslands reflected their silhouettes, while the lion moved silently nearby, always keeping an eye on his human friend. Their bond became a symbol of kindness and understanding, a connection that transcended species and inspired many across the park. At sunset, Dylan often looked to the horizon, hoping to see Harold's familiar shape, a daily farewell between two unlikely companions. One evening, he spotted Harold perched on a rock, watching him until he disappeared from view. Their story touched hearts and motivated future conservationists, proving that even the wildest instincts can walk hand in hand with compassion. Dylan always reminded himself, with an open heart, nature might just offer us the most magical of allies. The scars on Harold's shoulders, the remaining traces of barbed wire, have now become symbols of faith and gratitude, connecting the fates of two creatures that once seemed impossible to be close. Through each rainy and sunny season, when the grasslands changed their colors, Harold and Dylan still occasionally meet, sharing wonderful, quiet moments. He never forgot the moment he first touched Harold's mane, caught between fear and love, guided by courage to do the impossible. On quiet gravel roads, people sometimes glimpsed Harold's golden eyes watching Dylan with silent warmth. The memory of the rampaging elephant herd reminded Dylan of the life Harold had risked for him, fueling his commitment to conservation. Stories of the lion who saved a man spread, earning awe and admiration for Dylan's bravery and compassion. And every time he heard that familiar roar, his heart stirred, bound by an invisible thread connecting two souls from different worlds. One evening, when the work was done, he recalled the long journey with Harold, feeling the simple and profound happiness that nature bestowed. He still believed that in every blade of grass swaying in the wind, in every cloud floating in the sky, Harold was always present, watching and protecting in his own way. That's why he kept moving forward, devoted to protecting every life in Kruger National Park, because he knew he was no longer alone. Like a timeless tale, Their story echoed far beyond the park's borders, reminding the world that even in the face of danger, love and compassion can still shine through. As a new day dawned, Dylan stood ready for the next journey, his heart full of gratitude and a warm smile on his face, hopeful for another chance to reunite with Harold on the boundless grasslands. Surrounded by the majestic beauty of nature, he gazed toward the horizon, where the first golden rays pierced through the clouds, and deep down, he knew that somewhere out there, Harold was watching over him too. Even in the seemingly unforgiving wild, miracles still exist, like the extraordinary bond between a man and the king of the jungle. Day by day, they continued to write a story of courage, sincerity, and profound connection, touching the hearts of countless travelers who visited Kruger. In the end, Dylan knew that sometimes a single act of kindness is all it takes to spark a miracle, and he had lived that truth firsthand. Whenever he recalled the day he rescued the lion, Dylan could never forget the look of gratitude in Harold's eyes. Nor could he have imagined that, from that moment on, they would become soulmates bound by something beyond words. Each evening, he smiled as he ended his day, comforted by the distant echo of a roar in the night, a signal that Harold was out there, safe and strong, guarding the sacred bond they shared in the heart of the wild. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you liked this story. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss updates from our channel. Thank you.